Hello everyone, Twisted Animatronic here, and I can't believe it's taken nearly 3 years to solve this. How did we all miss this in Security Breach and Ruin, and how Roxy, believe it or not, was the key to helping solve these games all along. Yes, our beloved Roxy. Because here's the thing, have you ever thought why Gregory specifically took her eyes? I mean, we know he accidentally throws a go-kart in her face on Roxy Raceway, but why does he specifically come back and take her eyes? Why even take anything at all? Any normal person would be simply happy she's deactivated and move on, but not Gregory. He comes back and literally rips out her eyes from her eye sockets. Nice kid. But why specifically her eyes though? And I know I'm going to stop you right there because I know what you're thinking. Well, Twisted, it's because she has X-ray vision. Well, yes, that would obviously be one reason. She definitely does. But he specifically takes them and upgrades Freddy with them. This in itself then allows Freddy, believe it or not, to see Vanny, because before he's unable to see her. We know this because when you hide in the recharge station with Freddy, he literally says this.
You didn't see the dancing rabbit lady right in front of us?
No, I did not. There is no rabbit at the Mega Pizzaplex. Not anymore.
This is crazy.
But then after Gregory forcefully upgrades Freddy with Roxy's eyes, again, which he lies to Freddy about acquiring these eyes, Freddy is then able to see Vanny. We know this because in one of the endings, he's like, I can see you now. Believe it or not, this actually poses more questions than it does answers, because does that mean Roxy was able to see Vanny all along? And if so, why didn't she do something about it? Did Gregory know the effects of Roxy's eyes, again, all along? Hence why he upgrades Freddy. What's the big overarching picture here? Something is definitely wrong and out of the ordinary, and we're going to uncover that today. You see, all you eagle-eyed theorists out there will definitely know that Roxy was upgraded with her eyes to help her win races. That is the official line which we find in a log in a duffel bag, right? But don't be fooled by this, because as we know, Fazbear Entertainment are an extremely shady company. As we know in the past, they're not going to outright tell people that the animatronics are murderous robots. Look at Circus Baby's Pizza World. On the surface, Baby was designed to entertain children, but underneath all that, in her design, she was designed to capture children in her chest cavity. They're not going to put that in a maintenance log. So the fact that Roxy was upgraded with these eyes to help her win races could be the official response, but something far darker is going on. And I believe Gregory knew this as well, but we'll come back to Gregory later. Because you see, Roxy Raceway, as we know, was built on top of the old FNAF 6 pizzeria. You know, the one which has the mimic now contained in it. Just so happens that this Roxy Raceway is coincidentally built over the top of it, and someone who has X-ray vision is the guardian of this place. I mean, even one of the logs states that she never leaves Roxy's Raceway. She's always there for a race, always on the track, and basically never leaves. That's suspicious in itself. We also know, thanks to Ruin, that Roxy was indeed a security node, which is extremely odd, and the security nodes were things helping contain the mimic down in its room. You know, with MXEX just outside the computer, which is basically the safeguard in stopping the mimic from leaving. And a third point, Roxy actually goes down to the FNAF 6 pizzeria and confronts the mimic directly in a battle of power. 3 things all hinting at the same purpose, to contain the mimic. Does that mean specifically that Roxy was built to help contain it? And if so, does Gregory know about this? Well, believe it or not, I think the mimic actually tried to escape before. I mean, it was sealed down there for a reason, with concrete over the front of it. Everything outside the mimic's room indicate that Fazbear Entertainment had been there and unleashed the mimic before, but I'll get onto that in a minute, because as you see in Security Breach, we actually find a duffel bag containing a note. This note is entitled False Alarm, and it tells us how a phone call was made from inside the Pizzaplex asking for help, and it contacted the local police. But Vanessa says she was the only one there, so who could it have been? Well, it's pretty obvious. If it wasn't one of the victims inside the Pizzaplex, which it doesn't seem likely because Vanessa's talking in a third person, who else do we know who can mimic voices and has been calling out for help? That's right, the mimic. Now, this could quite easily be another victim which was trapped in the Pizzaplex, don't get me wrong, but it seems awfully coincidental that even Vanessa is talking in a third person that she was the only one there. And we know the mimic had literally been seen in Ruin calling out for help, pausing as Gregory.
I'm Gregory.
So this could be the first instance of the mimic actually trying to break through the system and call other people to come down there. Now that was an important point to make because it gives context as to why Roxy and even MXEX was made in the first place. Because what you'd think is, if there was a killer robot down in your basement, you'd simply have it destroyed, melted, so it would never come back. But that doesn't happen. They seem to just lock it in a room. Why? If it was that dangerous, you'd literally have it destroyed and melted down into liquid metal like they do in Terminator 2. Now, there's a reason why they don't do that, and that's because, in a nutshell, the Mimic is the root folder of all the animatronics in the Pizzaplex. If they destroy the Mimic, they literally destroy all the systems controlling the other animatronics. Now, breaking all that down is a video in itself, and I've done that with the Freddy video on how he finds his existence, so I recommend watching that later so it fills in the gaps which are missing in this video. And now, with that being said, Fazbear Entertainment will be aware of the Mimic's existence, and if they know that that thing can get out, they're going to be in a world of trouble, just like before. It'll destroy their reputation, Fazbear Entertainment will go under, and the whole cycle starts again. They can't afford to do that. So what do? Put safeguards in place, hence why they built this computer. Well, they didn't initially build it because we know that that computer itself is back from the 1980s. This was confirmed in an interview. But what we do know is the technology isn't from the 1980s, so they've clearly upgraded that technology. And in doing so, they upgraded the animatronics. Look at Roxy. She was made a security node specifically to keep the Mimic at bay. Deactivating her basically frees the Mimic. But not only that, they upgraded her with X-ray eyes. Now, it's pretty obvious at this stage why they've upgraded her with X-ray eyes. We know the Mimic hides in costumes, hides in shells. The Mimic could easily get casings from other animatronics, Freddys, Montys, Roxys, Chicas, hide inside their casing and try and leave the Pizzaplex. Roxy's X-ray vision could easily see through these costumes and know, hey, that's the Mimic, you haven't fooled me, get back down in your cage. And here's the thing, we also know that Roxy is connected to the AR world. We know this because when we put the Vanny mask on as Cassie, we can see her as green, as her original unshattered self. That's because she's in the AR network at this stage. She's also able to see Vanny, who's also in the AR network. When we upgrade Freddy, he's literally talking about the augmented versions he can see of things. He even says Gregory looks different.
You look different to me. I can see movement through the walls.
Which opens a whole can of worms if you want to go into the robot Gregory stuff. But everything indicates that Roxy was indeed outfitted to fight the Mimic. I mean, hell, even in Ruin, she's able to confidently take on the Mimic, go up against him one-on-one, blind? No, she isn't entirely blind because she can see via the AR network. I believe that is embedded in her, hence why she's able to predict the Mimic's movements. Kinda like Neo in the Matrix, I suppose. And have you ever thought that at this stage, the Mimic hasn't revealed itself entirely, is still talking as if it's Gregory. And Roxy, literally, if she couldn't see the Mimic properly, she'd be lunging herself directly at the child because all she'd be able to hear is Gregory's voice, right? Now, I know she absolutely hates Gregory from Security Breach, but at this point, her programming has been reset. So if she couldn't see anything at all, she'd be basing her attack on listening to the voice, and all she would have heard is Gregory, and then whoosh, she would have attacked him, right? But no, she has got some type of sense because she's connected to that network. She knows it isn't Gregory, she knew it was the Mimic. And at no point did she say, where are you? Blah, oh no, I've never seen you before. She doesn't. That's because she's seen the Mimic before. And again, I've done a huge video on that, so I won't go into this one. So with all that now being said, we can confidently say that Roxy was indeed outfitted to combat the Mimic. The evidence is there. The security node, for one, is a huge step. The eyes is another to help see through the disguises, and the third one, her entire area is built directly above the Mimic's cage. She would easily be able to see through Roxy Raceway at any point if the Mimic had escaped its confines. Makes sense to me, right? But there's only one problem here. Gregory. You see, Gregory, being the naughty boy that he is, obviously takes Roxy's eyes. He also takes parts from other animatronics. But it begs the question, why? Why specifically her eyes? Well, based on everything we just said, it's likely that Gregory knew the capability of her eyes. We literally know Gregory's a hacker. He hacks Freddy to help Freddy do his bidding and go against his masters. You know how he outright lies to Vanessa multiple times, disregards his safety protocols? That's because he's been hacked by Gregory. Why else was Gregory inside his chest cavity when we start the game? But when he collects Roxy's eyes and installs them in Freddy, he knows they give us X-ray vision. And what do they actually do in Security Breach the game? Help us uncover secrets, right? And what are them secrets? The therapy sessions with Gregory and Vanessa. We go around and collect them and listen to them, obviously, as the player, but Gregory himself may not want anyone to listen to his therapy tapes because he'll find out the true purpose of of Gregory's motives, and the fact that he did kill numerous people under the control of the glitch trap virus. You know, when he was GGY, but I'm not going to get into all that in today's video. But it does give us food for thought, the fact that he took these eyes so he can A, erase all the evidence that he actually murdered people, and B, to be able to combat any other threats. Look at it this way, he's literally upgrading Freddy to be some kind of super animatronic. Monty's claws, Chica's voice, Roxy's eyes. At this stage, Freddy will be nigh on indestructible, right? We also know that Gregory knew the mimic was down in the sinkhole. He literally says it in the ending of Ruin, and he also says something else extremely interesting. He doesn't say it's been trapped down there a really long time. He says it's been trapped down here a really long time.
I really don't know what it is, but it's been trapped down here a really long time.
Indicating, with the word here, he is still in the Pizzaplex. He never left. Otherwise, he'd say, oh, it's been trapped down there. You know, indicating he's away from the area. No, he says here. He is at the location. This then leads me to believe that he does still have Freddy in the Pizzaplex and was there, maybe to combat the mimic himself, but Cassie got there first. You know, with Roxy. This then opens up a whole new list of options as to why Gregory would still be in the Pizzaplex and not aid Cassie in the first place. Well, he obviously didn't know she was there because of the dialogue in Ruin again suggests and says this because he's basically saying like, what the hell are you doing in there?
What are you doing? You were never supposed to go to the Pizzaplex.
But why would Gregory still be lurking around in the Pizzaplex? Now you could easily jump to the conclusion that Gregory would still be around to make sure the mimic doesn't escape, right? Makes sense. But if that was the case, why would they then set up MXEX, make Roxy a security node, and all the other security measures they had in place? They wouldn't. Gregory's there for a different reason, and the reason why he upgraded Freddy in the first place. You see, in numerous endings, it's shown to us, regardless, that Gregory has no place to go after he leaves the Pizzaplex. So could it be then that he is simply using the Pizzaplex now as his new home? I mean, it seems apparent that he has no family. You know, we see him in the alleyway at one point when he leaves the Pizzaplex, indicating he hasn't gone home. He also knows that if he takes Freddy out of the Pizzaplex, that he will no longer be able to charge. Sure, we know in one of the endings that Gregory could quite easily take his head and find a way to recharge him that way, but we know Gregory's still in the Pizzaplex because of the Ruin dialogue. But I think there's more to this than just him staying in the Pizzaplex. I mean, after all, the Pizzaplex does get ruined, so why would you want to stay there? I believe he's still there to combat something, to fight something, hence why he's upgraded his Freddy all along. We know he was under the control of Glitch Trap, but Help Wanted 2 kind of shows us that Glitch Trap is gone, right? Well, not necessarily. We know Glitch Trap is gone from Vanny/Vanessa. Does that mean he's been completely purged from the system? It's hard to really say, but one thing we do know is that Roxy was indeed there to combat the mimic. The evidence 100% suggests this, and in my previous videos I even break down how she'd fought the mimic before. I know, it sounds crazy, but the evidence is there, because in the isolated audio footage she literally says that she's fought the mimic before. She says, still too weak, huh? Indicating she'd seen and had an encounter with the mimic before, and won. I know, sounds mental, highly recommend checking out my other Roxy video. But to me, Roxy's key in this entire thing. I mean, she was the one who was built to contain the mimic, not Freddy. She was the one who was there fighting the mimic at the end of Ruin with Cassie, not Freddy, not Chica, not a revived GlamRock Bonnie. This is all pointing to the fact that she is special, just like it says in Help Wanted 2. What makes you so special? Well, we've covered what makes Roxy so special, and how we'll see her, I believe, in the return to Edwin's factory with Cassie. Because here's the thing, in the ending of Ruin, we know the elevator gets cut, and it falls with Cassie inside of it. And I believe it doesn't fall back down to that same level with the mimic. I believe it falls further into the remains of Edwin's factory, where we'll find Roxy and pick up for the next part of the journey. You see, Secret of the Mimic will show us the factory which Edwin Murray was in prior to the Pizzaplex. It then gets shut down, destroyed, decrepit, left there, the game ends, and then the next game potentially will pick up with Cassie and Roxy in the future, showing us the aftermath of what happened and how the Mimic has then came to be in the present time. Obviously, all that part is pure speculation on my part. I don't have much evidence apart from the way down to the old pizzeria looks like a factory and matches up with the theme and aesthetic we see in Secret of the Mimic trailer. But with that being said, what do you think on Roxy being the key to all of this? How she was indeed there to stop the mimic all along. We just didn't see it. Literally, we didn't see it because we didn't have Roxy's eyes. Nice pun. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comment section below. And I read every comment because this video itself actually came from one of the comments suggested to me, which you can see on screen now. So thank you very much. And if you did enjoy this video, hit the like button and subscribe for plenty more content like this. There's loads on the channel. I highly recommend watching it because it'll fill in the blanks which you've missed in in this video, because there's so much lore which I haven't even touched on which relates to this, so go and check it all out. Huge thanks to the members who are on screen now. You keep the power on in the pizzeria, with an extra special thanks to Lauren C and William Plays 844, who are gold and twisted ones, and Penguin Lover 12, who's actually a twisted animatronic. And with that being said, I'm shutting the door on this theory. So as always,
stay safe out there, superstars.